All right. Hi, Assalamualaikum, everyone. Greetings. Okay, my name is Miss Farah, not yet Dr. Farah. Okay, soon to do my PhD. All right. So, soon to be Madam as well. Okay, wish me luck. As you can see, the screen, that is me, graduated in 2017. Well, I ain't going to talk about anybody else. It will be my journey, my research, and my experience dealing with posture prep. They are good, very good. So that was in the UK, and then I decided to pursue my study. So be going back to Malaysia, and then, considering a few titles for my postgraduate study, I finally decided to give a try to this little creature named Posture Craft. So I think how many of you in this room have ever heard or at least Posture Craft in front of you? Okay. Surprising. Okay. Uh, okay. And then, so did I regret my decision? No, definitely not. Okay, this is one of the bad decisions I've made in my life, considering muscle prep for my postgraduate studies. Okay, back in 2017, I participated a lot in awareness programs. So we went to schools from the east coast of Peninsula up to the north, to the central south of Peninsula. And then, so we usually went to primary school and high school. Every time I start my day, I always ask the student, does anybody in this room consume honey crack? And I wonder today, does anybody in this room consume honey crack? Very surprised. Okay, because in the east coast of Peninsula Malaysia, out of 100 students, one of them will raise their hand. Okay, there was a kind of difficult situation. But on the other hand, a different situation occurred in the north, to the north, in Kedah, in Berlin. Because when I received a question, out of 100 students, 95 of them will raise their hand. And oh my God, situation. Okay? And for that reason, I think I should run more awareness program, and for that reason as well, I illustrated and wrote 3 kid storybooks, okay, for awareness purposes. And then one of the hilarious moments throughout my journey spreading awareness about posture prep, there was a school student, a boy, very cute boy, and we had an expo back then in Terengganu. So he came to our booth and he said, "Hey, that's a stingray." I was like, I wasn't going to song to respond. Again, this is not a stingray, this is posture prep. Oh, is it? It looks like an onion. Oh, no. Okay, a posture prep. So there was a brief history about my journey with posture prep and how my fascination evolved over time. And then history about posture prep. So this is an ancient posture prep, okay, the one in the middle. But the one in the left is a trilobite. Trilobite had the same lineage as posture prep. And they evolved around 400 million years ago. That was a very long time. And as you can see on the very right, we have the ascent species of posture prep. And we can see pretty much the similar morphology between the ascent species and the ascent species of posture prep. They haven't changed. They decided not to change their morphology. So for that reason, posture prep today, in comparison to the modern animal, they look like a bit about eating things, but they are not. They are not back then. Okay. So today we have 4 ascent species of posture crabs. 3 of them existed in Malaysia, and 1 of them existed in the Atlantic Ocean. So we have Limulus polyphemus. So Limulus polyphemus existed in the Atlantic Ocean, whereas the rest 3 we have them in Malaysia. So the first one, we have Parthenoscorpius rotanicauda, which is a mangrove posture crab. The second one is the Cephalaceae tridentatus, or the tri-spined posture crab. existed only in East Malaysia, in Sabah and Sarawak only. And then we have the coastal horseshoe crab, Tritictis gigas. Okay? Well, they are all here. Okay, so horseshoe crabs. What is so special about them is horseshoe crabs not only exist or been cited in scientific journal, but their names are also embedded in Malay proverb. Have you ever heard someone say sticking together like horseshoe crabs or seperti belangkat? Why? Because they always appear together. They rarely seem separated, but they are not loyal partners. Don't be like them. Okay? It's a first come, first served basis. If I found you, you're my partner for now. So don't be like a crab, be loyal. Okay? The one at the front, we have the female horseshoe crab. Okay, why do we always see them together? It is because they are undergoing the fertilization process. So they feed external fertilization. And then the one at the front, which is significantly larger in size, the female, they will lay egg. And the one at the back, the male, smaller in size, they will lay their sperm. And then after the laying egg season ended, they will make their own way. So they roam separately in the ocean. So that's why we can always see them together. Okay? So stick together like horseshoe crabs. I love their proverb. But what are they used for? Okay? There are a few things that horseshoe crabs were used for. So the first one, back in 80s and the 90s, horseshoe crabs were used as bait. This happened in the US usually. Why? Because they can produce a very strong pungent smell. And it's bad odor. Okay? Probably that was the last thing you want to smell on earth. I can guarantee it's bad. Very. Okay? So for that reason, it is a suitable item to be used as bait, as a fishing bait to trap the fish. Number two, the horseshoe crab egg serves as the food for migratory birds. Horseshoe crab can produce up to 10,000 of eggs per season, and then less than 1% hatch into juvenile. The rest were meant to be that egg. So the rest that egg act as the food for migratory birds for one reason, that is because they are rich in fat. Okay, so the bird, in order to travel for a long distance, long time, they need energy-rich food, and that's why they consume the horseshoe crab egg. Yummy, yummy. Number three, sorry. In our culture, we consume horseshoe crab as a delicacy, but I'll talk about this later. And last but not least, and on the biomedical part, we utilize horseshoe crab in order to produce one feed, in which it is very interesting. Also, I'll talk about that later. Okay, as I read, in our culture, we consume horseshoe crab. So that is one of the horseshoe crab salad, egg salad. And then, if you can Google online or Facebook, you can easily find horseshoe crab online selling thing. So, why am I not recommending you to consume horseshoe crab? That is for one reason, because it will take horseshoe crab about 6 to 9 years to mature. What does it mean by mature egg? To produce their first egg. Meaning, it will take about 6 to 9 years for horseshoe crab to produce egg, and then we need 10 minutes to consume their egg. So I can see a very imbalanced input and output source. So for the local fishermen, they only catch the female horseshoe crab, leaving the male behind. In the future, we can see the male will outnumber the female. Okay, one interesting thing, since good to ours, okay, we catch horseshoe crab from the local fishermen for research purposes, and we are truly lacking the female. You can see that the male always sticks right behind the female. And that's supposed to be only 2 horseshoe crabs. But in our tank, there are 7 horseshoe crabs, aligned in row like a tree. So only the females at the front, and then the rest are males. So they cannot recognize the gender. They only recognize by the size. That's interesting. But bad. Okay, horseshoe-crab also one of the long-living animals, so they can live up to 30 years. Okay, that's very long. Okay, but one of the secrets to their longevity is lies within their blood. Do you know that horseshoe-crab blue blood? No. Okay, then if you don't, this is a new knowledge for you. But if you know, if you already heard about that, I need to correct you one thing, because their blood are not originally blue. They are transparent with whitish residue named amebocyte. So amebocyte is equivalent to white blood cell. In other words, it plays a significant role in immune system. But what makes their blood blue and ours red? Okay, that is because of one of the copper-based elements within their blood, namely hemocyanin. And then the copper-based element will oxidize, okay? Will trap the oxygen and then it will turn blue. So that is the reason. Okay, but ours, we have ferric in our blood. So that's why our blood is not blue. And then, for the bleeding purposes, it has already killed tons of horseshoe crab, because many of the horseshoe crab, they did not survive post-bleeding treatment. Okay, for that reason, we lost a huge number of horseshoe crab. And recently, this is from 2019, one of the species of horseshoe crab, which is the transpoint horseshoe crab, has been listed in IUCN Red List as endangered. Okay, this is something that, it's not a nice news. So what are our actions? We gradually release horseshoe crab back to their habitat. But ignore my way of facial expression. That was the best image I can find online. Okay, but excuse that. Okay, so that is a reintroduction program that we gradually had. And how did we identify the area? We interviewed the local fishermen that have been working as fishermen for 30, 40 years. And then they told us a few areas that horseshoe crabs were abundant back then. So we identified the area and then we released the horseshoe crabs into the area. But if you notice something, we on our horseshoe crabs we have tags, the white tags here, that. So we place the tags on the horseshoe crab shell, or we call that as carapace. And then what's on the tag is we have serial number. Not serial killer, but serial number. And then we have the personally charged phone number. Okay? So whenever the horseshoe crab trapped within the fish net of the local fisherman, the fisherman will call us, will ring us, and let us know about the which serial number on the tag. Okay, and then we will locate the area in which do they stay within the same area or do they migrate? If they migrate, it means the area where we release them at the first stage do not have abundance of food. But if they stay, probably there will be a good area for them, a good habitat for them because of the presence of food. Okay, that is an indicator. Okay, then back to the amebocyte. Okay, I've mentioned about amebocyte. So what is special about this amebocyte? It is because the amebocyte can detect the slightest amount of gram-negative bacteria such as E. coli or Salmonella, in which if there is bacteria, the gel will clot. If there is no bacteria, it won't clot. So we can have this result within a few minutes. So the human, once the human discovers this, we turn this into the product. We have TAL and we have LAL. LAL is for the Demodex amebocyte lysate. TAL is for Turkey-based amebocyte lysate. So the T and the L is actually for the species itself in which we extract the amebocyte. We extract the blood. But bleeding the horseshoe crab makes more mortality of that. So what is the future of the horseshoe crab? Okay. We want the horseshoe crab to play their role in the ecosystem, but at the same time, we want the product out of the horseshoe crab blood. So what are we going to do is, recent discovery is we can actually we identify one of the important protein present within the horseshoe crab blood, which is the factor C. So we produce the factor C protein within the lab synthetically, and then there's what we call as recombinant factor C. So from this study, they find that we can reduce up to 90% reliance on the horseshoe crab blood. So if this prototype is successful, we can no longer rely on horseshoe crab blood. Instead, we can produce this in the lab. So in the future, we can let horseshoe crabs roaming in the ecosystem happily with their friends and family, of course. And also, at the same time, we can have the endotoxin feed in which we eagerly want that. So my last word is we could conserve the horseshoe crab because after all, horseshoe crab is our natural heritage and we should conserve and preserve that. Thank you so much.